All right. We are, how many days? So we got,
Depends on how you count it.
4 days.
4 days.
And our toes will be in the sand and our skin will be bleached red.
Mm-hmm. Well, yours won't because it already is.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. There's no avoiding it. However, you watch though, everybody makes fun. It's true. And I'm not, this is a bit of an exaggeration when I say I tan a little. It's not a tan, but you'll get what I'm saying. It's like a more appealing pink look once we're done with the week.
Your freckles start connecting.
Yeah. And again, I'm not going to step out on a limb and say it's a tan, but it's a darker shade of white. It's it shows promises that if I lived in the Caribbean, I would have skin cancer and die at a young age, but before I died, I would at least not be so.
You'd be the third whitest person down there.
Yeah, I mean, not as vampirish or whatever you say. So, but anyways, I regress. I'm looking forward to it. Obviously, we're all looking forward to it. So, folks that don't know, the whole company is heading down to Destin, Florida, we call it the Redneck Riviera for Middle Tennessee. It's where we all like to go on vacation.
It'll be my first time, so
yeah.
Because I got to tear it up.
Matt moved in from Charlotte, North Carolina. Now he's in Middle Tennessee, and he gets to experience the Destin, Florida Panhandle area.
Now, I have been to Gulf Shores. I have been to Panama City. I've been to Pensacola, so I kind of know. This is
a couple notches better. You're going to love it. And for those that aren't from this area, to get Caribbean-type waters in the United States, I've been to California. I've been obviously up and down the East Coast on those beaches. Been to different parts of Florida, but the Panhandle of Florida, called the Emerald Coast, if you hit the weather perfect, we're going to experience so far, and I hope that doesn't just blow up on us. But right now, the projected 10-day forecast looks amazing. It's like low 80s during the day and low 80s on a beach because you got that breeze coming in. It's going to be nice, real nice, Clark. But the waters, if you hit the weather just right, it's crystal clear. I mean, I don't care if you're in 10 foot of water or 30 foot of water, you can see all the way down to the bottom. It's crystal clear water. So we love it there, and that's why we go there multiple times a year. We're going back in July for Conor McGregor's fight against Dustin Poirier.
I'll be in Exuma in August.
Oh, my goodness. Okay, here I am talking about nice waters, and then you're going to Exuma. That doesn't compare.
Now that everybody's jealous, no, just kidding.
I'm glad we got our dry erase board up there that I rode on for the last 10 minutes, and I can't even see it because of this blinding light that's giving me a sunburn before we head down to Destin. Oh, I can see. Okay. So what we really wanted to talk about was the top 6 things you should focus on when living an intentional life. So, Matt, you want to start us off with number 1?
Yes, number 1. And these...
They are in order.
They are in the order that we feel they fit best, and these are what we feel fit our lives. Now, other people may add and subtract some of these particular items we are going to discuss, but we'll go through them. The first one is values. And that in order to live an intentional life and even really put forward kind of a blueprint of what your intentional life's going to be, I think identifying your values is going to be the core and foundation of living and building an intentional life. Mm-hmm.
And it's amazing. As you're sitting here talking, I'm sitting here thinking about values and what are my values. And I think it's obvious, my values are pretty easily laid out in the Bible, the King James Version of the Bible. And if you're a student of it and if you read it, coming up what your value system is pretty easy because that is your roadmap of what your values are. So mine are pretty simple. Obviously, my God first, my family second, my freedom third, and then finances are number 4. So I always say faith, family, finances, and freedom. And then not in that order because freedom needs to come first. As you can see, American flag, Tennessee flag. We talk about guns, freedom. So that's my value system, and I try to determine what my actions, thoughts, and daily activities are around that value system as much as I possibly can. We're going to be on the beach for 9 days. So family will definitely come up. Obviously, we'll talk about, one of the guys was talking about, he's watching 10 Commandments, newer Christian. So he's like, when does Moses come up and when does Jesus come up? So obviously those conversations are going to come up while we're there. So faith will come up. Finances are definitely going to come up in our crew, especially in that house that we've rented out. We've rented out a pimp house that's 6,000 square foot, and it's really nice. And so that's going to come up. Finances are going to come up. We're going to talk about real estate, obviously. We're going to enjoy it so much. We're going to talk about buying real estate down there.
I know my wife will be like, oh, let's buy one of these.
So, yeah, faith, family, finances. And then we'll also be in the great sunshine state of Florida where there's ultimate freedom. And that's coming from a Tennessean.
Yeah.
They're a state that's been open and really been open for the most part since the pandemic ever began. So they have quite a bit of freedom there, which is why they've got a real estate boom. Texas has a real estate boom. Tennessee has a real estate boom because those that are seeking freedom are flocking to those states. So back to the values. You're basically stating that to live an intentional life, number one, start with the values in mind first.
Identify what those are. Sit down, not just with yourself, but if you have a significant other or maybe those that are close to you, and identify what those are, and then format going forward based on those values. Yep. All right. Can you see number 2?
Number 2, goals. Yes, if I do this, I can see number 2, goals. I particularly like this one because I am somebody who has to write things down, and each year I write down a personal constitution. So what that personal constitution is here are things that I want to accomplish this year, and then work my way back and try to make those as big, hairy, and audacious as possible. And they may seem big when you write it down that in 1 year, this is where I visualize I want to be, whether it's fitness or within your faith, or, this is what I want to achieve with the family and the relationships that I have, or finances. They seem really big and audacious, but what I have learned to do over the years is really reduce that down to the ridiculous. So break them up into seasons, like for instance, 12-week seasons. So if you in a year's time, you want to reduce your weight by 40 pounds, that sounds like a big goal. If you're thinking of it over the course of a year, it's not. But if you break it up in 12-week seasons, say, okay, in 12 weeks, this is a season of my life that I'm going to go through. So for 12 weeks, this is what I'm going to dig in and do. And then you have to break your 12-week season down into what you're going to do on a weekly basis. And then from a weekly basis, then you got to break things down into calendaring. So when am I waking up? What am I doing when I first wake up? What are my activities? And then, for that day, eating right, again, going back to the goal of losing 40 pounds, eating right, exercising right, check all the boxes for that day. And if you check all the boxes for that day, then at the end of the season, it is inevitable you are going to hit your goal. As long as you made it
really close.
Yeah, as long as it was something that was truly attainable. Like, for instance, if I said, all right, in the next 12 weeks, I'm going to lose 30 pounds. I mean, I'm not overweight. I mean, I'm not in the best shape of my life, but 30 pounds off of me, I'm kind of going back to college basketball days. That's at 42 years old in 12 weeks. I mean, it can happen, but is it sustainable? No. And now Jeremy, somebody who runs 40 miles a day, a different story. Yeah, it melts off him. He can't gain weight to save his life because he runs so often, his metabolism's so high. He's also 33 years old. And age does play a part of that.
Also conditioned to do that because he's been doing it so long, too. So it will stay.
Yeah. So again, you have to break these down into small, attainable bites.
Make them reasonable, but make them aggressive is what I always say with my goals. Make them reasonable, but make them aggressive.
Right.
So make it something that it's going to probably be hard to hit, but not so far out that your mind, because your mind will work against you, and if it feels that it's unattainable, right? It will work against you. So definitely need to break it down, like you said, whether it be seasons or however you are going to track it, but you have to do those particular steps and those particular items day in and day out on the schedule that you build out. You need to not just say, I'm going to lose 30 pounds. Okay, well, how are you going to do that? Okay, well, I'm going to work out 5 days a week. Okay, you're going to work out 5 days a week. What days and at what time? Okay, you got those set. What are you going to eat? Okay, you got that down.
How are you going to work out? What are you going to work out?
Right. what are you going to do? So get all that down. But like you said, the 30, if you know that losing 30 pounds in 12 weeks is relatively unattainable, say, okay, I'm going to do it in, double that, right? So say 30, it's January 1st. I'm just using that as an example.
When everybody wants to start losing
Right.
weight.
By June 1st, this is what I want to do, 30 pounds, and this is how I'm going to do it.
Yeah. One goal that you had set not long ago was to start your day at 5 a.m. And you've been pretty successful at that because I get your Voxer messages early in the morning.
Yeah, how do you like this?
I'm up because usually you're pretty respectful. You'll send those at like 6 or so, and I'm up by then. But so what did you slowly develop, or did you say this is cold turkey? I'm getting up at 5.
So there's different ideology around that, I would say, and I think so. My normal wake up time prior to that was somewhere between 6 and 7. It was largely when the boys got up, and that's going to vary. But they normally are up between 6 and 6:30.
Right.
So what I did, and I think this, if someone wants to do this, this would be my advice. Do 10-minute increments. So do a week where, okay, if you're getting up at 6, get up at 5:50. Okay, 10 minutes earlier. Let your body get used to getting up at 5:50. Next week, get up at 5:40. 10 or 15-minute increments. Now, if you feel like you're one of those people that can just snap it and go a full hour and a half, whatever it is earlier, you can go that route. But I will tell you, it will be harder in the beginning because your body just won't be used to it.
Right.
So if you do 10-minute increments, and then what I would also do is try to get to bed 10 minutes earlier than you average as well.
I'm glad you bring that up because that was my other goal, was to actually go to bed,
right?
Because I don't sleep all that well, and I can stay up throughout the night. I mean, last time we went to the lake, you come down in the kitchen, and I'm standing there talking to Edmund at 4 o'clock in the morning. It's hard for me to shut it off, but that is something that I've been fairly successful at, is making sure I'm asleep by 10:30. And now that I've been doing it consistently, I notice around 9:30. I'm starting to feel like it's getting close to bedtime, and then it's easier for me to fall asleep.
Your body will adjust if you keep it pretty consistent. And, there will be days where I don't get up at 5 a.m., but I plan my days out. So it's normally when I know that I'm going to be running pretty ragged, and I'm going to get an extra hour of sleep because getting up at 5, and sometimes I'm 4:45 to 5. Most days when I get up that early.
I got a couple buddies that nap.
Yeah, and so
during the day.
Yeah, I wish I could. I love naps.
They're like, you got to find the time. You got to do it, and it's not necessarily napping. They call it meditation.
I do one a week, and it's normally on a Saturday or Sunday. But every now and then, if it's a slower week and I've got a lot done, I'll get to like Thursday, and I'll be like, I am so wiped. And so I will. I'll do it right after lunch. I'll eat lunch, and I'll pop down for like an hour, and that's it. But
if it's during the week, to me, it sounds painful to try to, what Nate and Tim and some of those guys do is they meditate, and meditation is not the woo-ah, not that. It's like find a quiet place for 30 minutes, and if you fall asleep, you fall asleep. If not, then you just don't think about anything, don't stress about anything, maybe put some light music on, same time, same place, every single day for 30 minutes. And
you know what I do? I literally put on ocean waves, and I just shut everything off, close my eyes, and I kind of meditate, and I normally will just fall asleep.
And at your age, you don't pee your pants?
And I...
Solid.
Not yet. So not yet. And I normally fall asleep 30, 40 minutes, and then I'll just pop back up and be like, okay, and I'm not going to, you don't want to stretch it out 2 or 3 hours, then you won't sleep at night. So
it's just, I get stressed out thinking about not doing anything for 30 minutes and then trying to shut my brain off. And, I get it. It's probably good for you.
I have to have something in the background to do it during the day.
It makes sense. All right. So number 3, which is extremely important, but we still labeled it number 3 because it is still, in our opinions, inferior to determining what your value system is and determining what your goals are. Number 3 is discipline.
Yeah. Well, I don't think you can be disciplined if you don't have a direction. Right. I mean, what are you going to be disciplined on? But discipline is key. And, one of the guys I follow is a huge discipline guy. In fact, writes books about it, trains, corporations on it. It's Jocko Willink. One of his books is Discipline Equals Freedom. And I love getting I'll go on Twitter in the morning and he's already up. I'm up at 4:45. He's already up. And
do you ever see mine when it's hunting season?
Oh yeah. Yeah. So it's same thing. He'll show his watch and it'll be like 3:35.
But he's already sweating.
Yeah, and he'll be like, get some, because and it's
every single day. Like I follow him on Instagram and during hunting season, I get up at 3. And then I'll take a picture of the clock or whatnot and be like, yeah, Jocko's still asleep. But I'm just going hunting. I'm not going on the grind like he does.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, obviously discipline is extremely important. And it's something that is no different than any other muscle. It's something that has to be trained.
It's a habit, yeah.
And at first it's hard, but you break through that wall. You break through that barrier after really 3 to 4 weeks, and then it becomes a habit. That's when discipline is no longer discipline. It just becomes something that's habitual. Mm-hmm. All right, and then
so I'm gonna add one more thing on discipline. So one of the things I've learned that's helped me out is the discipline to not just do the things that need to get done, because that's a lot of what we're talking about. We're talking about our goals here. But it's to remove the things that will distract you from the things that need to get done. So part of the way that I am able to get up early is I have a hard shutoff on any technology at 9 p.m. Mm-hmm. And I either read, hang out with my wife, or just think or do something like that and get myself calmed down so I can have a good night's sleep and be able to get up at 5 ready to roll. If I don't do that, if I watch something or work or get on Twitter, Facebook, Vox back and forth with you guys, it's not as proficient or efficient the next day because I'm not in the settle down mindset that I want to be when I go to bed so I can get up in the morning and focus.
You mentioned Vox, and I know it's something newer for the company to use, but I've been using it for 2 years, not religiously, but off and on with different groups. But I was messaging Jeremy and was like, hey, heads up, so-and-so wants you to respond to him on Vox. And he said, I know of no other human on planet Earth that still uses Vox. Is this like, I know it's newer to us, but is this like old technology that we thought was cool and now it's not cool? And not that I'm striving to be cool because it's extremely efficient for us.
I never knew about it, so I don't really know.
I think it's really cool and really efficient.
I think if it works for you, use it.
I wish my wife would use it.
I think if it works for you, use it.
Yeah, and in fact, I now find myself with other iPhone users doing the audio text because it's similar to Vox. That I don't even like to text anymore. Just let me hold that thing down and talk. Okay, so speaking of discipline and distractions, because that's what you said, is when it comes to discipline, you got to eliminate your distractions. And here I am. You just say one word, and I go off for 5 minutes on something. All right, number 4, accountability. I love this one. This was one that when I went through that the boot camp with Nate and Satima, when I came home from it, I asked Mal, because she loves to run. That's kind of like her love language or whatnot, and work out, especially now. Man, she's been getting after it for 6 months. Is, hey, do you want to do this with me? Every morning at 5 a.m., it's about the only time I can, not the only time, but one of the few times I can get in throughout the day before the kids get up and they're nagging, they're crying, they want breakfast and all that. I got to get my workout in. You want to do that? And we did. We'd get up at 5 a.m. and run every single morning, 4 to 5 miles. But the point of that was she was my accountability partner and I was hers. In the beginning, it was me because I was fired up going through that program. Like, we got to do it. We got to do it. Hey, time to get up. Let's go. And then after 6 or 7 weeks, she's like, you're not taking the day off, are you? No, I can't. Now, if she wasn't there to say that or to witness it, it would have been very easy to be like, I'm not feeling it today. I'll get it in at lunch or I'll get it in this afternoon, and then you get that one day and it's gone. You're like, I didn't do it today. I'll double up tomorrow. And then you don't. tomorrow turns into tomorrow.
And that goes back into what we said in the beginning with goals. So, I mean, this is all built on goals. And then when you start skipping steps, that goal starts to, in your mind, even subconsciously become more unattainable. Mm-hmm. So you start giving yourself reasons on excuses on why, okay, I don't need to do this today. Right. So accountability is huge, and finding a person and or a group to hold you accountable is highly recommended. Now, sometimes, you may not have someone or a group of people to hold accountable. I would recommend trying to find someone or a group. But if you can't, then use some kind of other external, I'm going to call it trigger or motivation, to keep you accountable. And whatever that may be, maybe it's something along the lines of, hey, if I work out the 3 days this week that I have planned, then Friday I get to eat my favorite meal or something like that. So keep, do some kind of other motivation or accountability if you don't have someone, right there to do it with you.
So what is yours?
What is mine?
Yeah, accountability.
So I have a accountability partner through a group. So we have a group called the Perfect Day Formula that I'm part of, and I really like the guy, Craig Ballantyne. He's not my accountability partner, but there's 3 of us in that group that we are accountability partners. So that's why you will see me up quite a bit, because if you don't, I'm going to get a ping from one of them that says, hey, what's going on? And so we also try to plan out our schedules too, so they know that, hey, this is going on this day, so I might, be moving my schedule around. But that's more of what it is, hey, this is what I have going on this week, so you can hold me accountable to that.
So I think there was 2 for me. One early on.
And then my wife too.
Yeah.
Of course.
One earlier on was my wife. 2 was also Voxer. I was in a group that every day we posted our mileage, right? And our calorie burns and things of that nature. So if you didn't check in, then somebody was like, hey, I see so-and-so, so-and-so, and so-and-so, but hey, Lush, what'd you do today? And then sometimes it'd snap you out of it, like, man, it's almost dinner time. I better go knock out 45-minute run so I can get this calorie burn and get the mileage in, and then post take a screenshot and post it in the Voxer group. But another one is, for me, my kids. Right now, they're in sports and whatnot, so they genuinely look up to me, right? They're like, Daddy's tall, Daddy lifts heavy things, and everybody can lift heavy things when you're 9, 7, 4, and 7 months. But, I get the questions like, Daddy, do you think you could beat up Mr. T? No. And I just made it. They don't know who Mr. T is. I just made that up. But stuff like that, right? And then it's like, I contemplate, like, well, could I not? Things like that. And then, we obviously do jiu-jitsu and grapple and roll and stuff in the house. And, I'm showing them different things, which we got to watch out for when we go to Destin with your boys, because now Rowan knows how to heel hook pretty efficiently, and that'll tear a knee up, even a kid's knee. So had a conversation with him last night on the baseball field, like, dude, you cannot do this on other people. But anyways, they kind of look up to me, and I want my kids to look at their father and be like, he's cool, he's strong, he's fit, he's funny. I'm not trying to be their friend, but I want them to generally look up to me as their father. I remember when I was a kid, and me and my brother were in bunk beds, and our room was next door to my mom and dad's room, and we were watching something, and it was Arnold Schwarzenegger, something show. I don't know if it was Conan the Barbarian or something like that. And I was like, and my brother, we're all watching it, or me and my brother are watching it, and I said, man, you imagine if Conan was our dad? And my brother, who was 4 years older, is like, no, I love my dad. I don't want Conan to be my dad. I have a great dad. And I'm like probably 4 or 5. But I remember that moment. My dad's in the other room, right? I'm like, that could have been crushing for a dad, right? So I want to be that they look up to as a role model to them. I don't want to be some fat guy laying on a beach drinking a beer, not playing in the water with their kids, not playing, baseball with their kids, not coaching them, just a couch potato eating fat ass. Yeah, I don't want to be that dude.
Well, that's one of my number one goals, to be a good dad, you know, and and there's days like my, when I get off work and I've been 5 to 5, put in a long day, and they want to go outside and play. And I just, I want to sit, but I'm like, you know what? Every day that passes by is one day closer to them not being in the house anymore. Yeah. So you know what? I'm going to suck it up, and I'm going to go out there, and I'm going to play.
I tell you what, his workout is that trampoline, man. Daddy, can you come jump on trampoline? I'm like, whoo. It's surprising. It's fun because you're smiling the whole time. It's like a jet ski, right? You can't get on one and not be smiling.
I'm playing a
trampoline. You can't get on it and not smile
every night.
Yeah. But a trampoline surprisingly is a workout.
It is.
So number 5. So we've got number 1 is values. Number 2 is goals. Number 3 is discipline. Number 4 is accountability. And number 5 is continued growth.
Continued growth. Yep. So you don't stop learning. Once you get out of school, life is constant learning. And I think if you are going to follow this path of intentional life, then it shouldn't just be linear where you're not growing, inside and out. So you should strive to have continued growth, continued learning, continued striving to be a better person overall, and like you said, for your children, be a teacher as well. I think that's as big a part of it as anything. Be someone out there that is teaching or people learning from you just by, watching what you are doing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 100%. I mean, there is no, when you're super competitive, there is no end result. It's like, maybe right now you're like, okay, if I was 8% body fat and, just super healthy, tons of energy, and I kind of go back to fitness a lot, or, even finances. If I had, 15 million, in some type of retirement, so it's earning blah, 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 and now I get this lifestyle. When you actually get there, that's no longer the end result anymore. And it's kind of like, we're going to put our house on the market, and I think it was 4 years ago, people were like, oh man, you're building your dream home. And even at that time, we're like, that's today's dream. We don't know what tomorrow's dream though is. So we don't get attached to homes and cars and things of that nature. It's just, that's what, today's goal or today's dream is. But once it's realized, it's like, okay, got to start dreaming again. Got to start thinking again. Got to start progressing again. And, I think that's kind of what you're saying, or speaking of, is continued growth. Is there's no end of the journey. The process is the journey. That's the end result, is being constantly ingrained in the journey, constantly developing, constantly growing.
Yeah, and I'll give a tip there. There's a lot of people out there that have done what you, me, anybody listening to this want to do and want to accomplish. And my suggestion is find those people, find the ones that you relate to, and learn from them. It'll extrapolate what you can do, but it will also streamline what you can do as well.
I'd say take it a step further. I was listening to Gordon Ryan. Gordon Ryan is definitely, in today's terms, the no-gi world's best grappler, jiu-jitsu guy today. Arguably the best ever. Guess how old he is? 24. 24. And I listened to his podcast on Joe Rogan, and it just to hear the maturity of him speaking. He's very mature, very smart, and very aware as a 24. Now, he's also brash too. He's one of the first guys to come out and actually trash talk and hype up grappling matches and whatnot, like an MMA fighter would, kind of like a Conor does. But I mean, there's just he can't even get fights because people know that they're going to lose, and he'll just destroy them. So he's trying to challenge the best grapplers and jiu-jitsu artists in the world, and they just a lot of times just won't do it. But long story short is, Joe Rogan asked him, said, are you scared that because he's part of a team that every member of that team is amazing? And it's because of the way that they train. They train every day, 7 days a week in Puerto Rico, 365 times a year, which is not typically what people, you're saying you got to have some type of rest and relaxation, and they don't. They do, but it's not, they still roll every single day. And Joe asked him, said, are you worried about people picking up on how you guys train and watching what you guys do in matches and then emulating you and then basically becoming your competitor? And he said, no. He said, because what we do different is we learn from the best that are out there. And we not only learn what they're doing, but we try to learn how to improve upon it. And I was like, wow, that's pretty solid.
Yeah.
Because these guys, you know, what you were talking about is find people who are already successful and do what they're doing. Maybe take it a step further. Do what they're doing at first, but then say, okay, they're doing this, but I wonder how I could do it even better.
Mm-hmm. That's a good way to look at it. Mm-hmm.
All right. And then lastly, so number 1 was values. Number 2 was goals. Number 3 was discipline. Number 4, accountability. Number 5, continued growth. And number 6,
communication. Mm-hmm. Yep. And this is important just about everything in life, but definitely with this living an intentional life, when you have accountability partners, but not just communicating to them, communicating to yourself. You know, where am I at on this path? What do I need to improve on? Is my discipline right? Am I on the path to meet my current and future goals? And where am I at with continued growth? It's constant communication with yourself and with those around you. Without it, then it's going to be very hard to stay on the path that you've set forth to live the intentional life that you want to live.
And I also think that with this clear communication that you have about your intentional life will create other conversations that you wouldn't normally be a part of with people you don't normally associate with. Mm-hmm. And it will also, if you communicate what your intentional life is and what your success path looks like, you will see people fold like a lawn chair around you that really, it's not necessarily they don't want to be a part of it, don't want to see you succeed. They kind of cower to that. And they kind of, you'll find them, especially if they're negative, if they're a negative affiliation to you, you'll start to see them kind of dwindle in the background and kind of fade off in life. At least I have. Some of those that, they're cool maintaining the status quo and doing what they've always done since high school. I mean, it's like, dude, we got to grow up, man. Mm-hmm. We got to move on.
Not everybody does, though. Not everybody's willing to do what we're putting forth on this particular podcast.
But when you communicate that, those people fade into the background. And then those others that are like-minded start coming to the forefront. Yep. And you find yourself starting to associate with more of those folks.
Yeah, I mean, you start identifying with them, and they start identifying with you. And, it's like it's always said, you are you basically are made up of the five or six people you associate with the most. So, pick those people wisely.
Yeah, and, those that fade off in the background, to them it's somewhat of a competition or jealousy, right? Where with the other ones that kind of come to the forefront that have the similar value system and intentional life, now it's how do we add value to one another's lives? What is it that you're doing that you're succeeding at? And I can take, you can take a look at my roadmap and see what I'm doing, and let's see what we can share so that together we can go excel. Whereas with the others, it's just like, oh man, he just thinks he's too good to hang out with us.
People will either pull you backwards or they will pull you forwards.
Right.
Who do you want in your life?
Yeah.
That's what you got to ask yourself.
Not a 400-pound anchor. All right, gang. Well, that was 34 minutes.
We'll close on that note.
Yeah. So that was the 6. So the 6 steps that we feel are most important to living an intentional life are: number 1, values; number 2, goals; number 3, discipline; number 4, accounting; number 5, continued growth;
accountability. Accounting helps.
Accounting.
Finance,
yes. There we go again. And then number 6, communication. So that wraps this up. Guys, if you like this, please subscribe. Helps us out tremendously on YouTube, so please subscribe if you want to get more content like this. Obviously, it's not always HELOC related. We're going to get into a lot of other concepts here in a later date with some more stuff on crypto trading, how to be an entrepreneur, how to replace the bank.
Life hacks. We're going to do a bunch of stuff.
Yeah. We've got a large lineup. So please subscribe, like it if you liked it, comment below if you have any questions. Love you. Take care. God bless.
And next time you see us, I'll be back from vacation.
I'm going to be tan.
He will be no tanner than he is right now.
Actually, I'm going to get self-tanner just to prove you a liar.
That's cheating.
All right. See you. Take care.